at KSMO Radio, your hometown radio station. We have Lancer Blair in us. Lancer is running for the 120th District Representative seat on the Republican side, coming up in the August primary. It's coming quick, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's going really, really quick.
But you've been busy. You've been busy.
I have been running all over. I've been putting up signs. I've been going up near St. Louis. Most people don't realize how big this district is. It runs from just outside of Owensville to Bunker, and from basically the Sullivan city limits to Montauk. I mean, and the topics that we have to cover in that district are huge and diversified.
Yeah, and not one of those counties does exactly the same thing the same way.
Oh, no. You know, here we have the Ozark National Scenic Riverway. We have the mining industry over toward Viburnum. We have the timber industry and everything like that. And cattle. Huge agriculture, which is part of my degree. But then in Crawford County, you've got the same thing with cattle, but 30% of their workforce is manufacturing, right along I-44. And then they have the Hoosier Valley, which is tourism. And I was talking to Daryl Blackwell, who owns, Jadwin Canoe Rental,
Right.
and he says on a good day he'll put out, 400 canoes, that type of thing. But Hoosier Valley does 4,000. Yeah. So they've got a little bit, but more manufacturing, right along I-44, all that.
Oh, yeah.
Plus they have more towns.
Sure.
Cherryville, Steelville, Cuba, Bourbon, Leesburg, all those. And we have Salem and a part of Bunker.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's the I-44 corridor that in Crawford County, when Cuba actually started to explode, was because of the I-44 corridor.
Right.
And that also helped the surrounding towns of Steelville, and then moving it back out a little bit towards even Potosi out that way. It grew that way as well. So when you go see those towns, obviously, that I-44 corridor makes a big difference.
It does. It absolutely. And you've got all the tourism coming through, but then you also have the crime that comes through with it as well. Most people don't realize that the United States is ranked #1 in the world for child sex trafficking. #1 in the world. And Missouri ranks #3 in this nation. And we have to deal with the child sex trafficking. We have to deal with the drug trafficking. And then we have to deal with the immigration that comes along the I-44 corridor as well. And they're having massive problems with the immigration up there in Crawford County. Sullivan's in Franklin County right there, then in Cuba and Bourbon, because they're along that I-44 corridor. So you have benefits.
Sure.
Of people running through. They need to stop at a gas station. They need to get food and gas and everything like that. But then you have problems that come along with that.
Well, right. And a lot of those are just obviously coming out of the I-44 corridor. It's coming out of Texas.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
When they're crossing the border, one of the bigger roads to get out of Texas is
absolutely.
I-44, and it goes right through the middle of the state, gets to St. Louis, and bang, they can go any direction.
They can go anywhere they want to.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it's we are ranked #3.
It is a corridor for them.
And our sheriffs can't really do a whole lot about it.
No.
They're not getting any backing from the federal government on this. Talking to Mikey Loveday, he was talking about how the sheriffs here cannot even do anything because ICE will not come down and pick people up. And it's like, that's wrong. We know that they're illegal, but we can't pick them up. We can't question. We can't do any of this. And yet ICE, the federal government, won't allow it. They're not going to come up. They're not going to subsidize. They're not going to take them. And so you can't pick them up. You can keep an eye on them, or try to.
Right. And Missouri's state laws don't have enough teeth.
Right. There was a push, but it never made it through. There was a push to allow sheriffs and the sheriff's deputies to do what they needed to do to round up illegal aliens, but it never got through. And it was they were blocking it. Anybody that had money in this game, when you got skin in this game, they're making money off it right now. Don't kid yourself.
Sure.
There are people that are making money off housing illegal immigrants. There are people that are making money off working illegal immigrants, which is taking jobs away from people like me and you and anybody here in Denton, Crawford County.
Right.
Don't kid yourself. They are here.
And this is one thing I think a lot of people, Lancer, don't realize this is going on in the state of Missouri. It doesn't affect you personally. You probably don't see it.
Right. I mean, obviously, if it's affecting you personally, it's going to be bold right in front of your face. But if it's affecting your neighbor down the road, you're overlooking it. Because it's not in your face. And that's with any problem in life. If it doesn't affect you, you tend to overlook it. But this is something that we need to pay attention to, even if it doesn't affect you directly. Because if that person that doesn't have a job because they're paying an illegal alien half
pennies,
or
pennies
pennies
on
on
the
what
dollar,
you would
yeah.
make, that puts a person out of a job. That puts a local out of a job. And then that person is trying to find another job. And so if you go looking for a job, there are more and more locals looking for that job, which is a harder job market.
And so when people hear about an unemployment rate, that local who is a registered voter in Denton County, and they go in and they go try and get unemployment benefits, even if they get denied, they're on the rolls because they're looking for a job. That illegal alien, no matter what they do, they're not going to get counted whether they're working or not.
Yeah. Whether they're working or not, they're not going to get counted for that.
Yeah.
And they're flipping definitions all over the place. Did you know that if you work 2 part-time jobs, okay, which I've done many times in my past, I worked my way through college with 2 part-time jobs, and then I was going to school full-time and then taking care of my dad when he was in the hospital up there. Those part-time jobs by the Department of Work and Human Labor, or Labor and everything like that, is considered 2 full-time jobs. They have redefined what full-time and part-time are. So if you're working that 20 hours a week, that's a full-time job now. And so that's why they're manipulating the numbers to make things look like they're so good.
However,
However,
but it doesn't work for insurance.
I don't know that.
It doesn't. It still has to be 30 hours or 32, depending upon. And so sometimes, and some businesses still have 40. So it all depends on the loopholes that are there, and depending upon the size of the business. I mean, there's a lot of conditions.
Right, there's conditions to everything. So what you're saying right then is an individual could be working 2 part-time jobs at 20 hours a week and still not have insurance or anything because that person falls under that 30-hour limit.
They could be working 3.
They could be working 3 part-time jobs or 4, depending on how many hours they get with each one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like diversity, 4 part-time jobs, I'll give it to you. I'll tell you that. But these are some of the concerns that state reps have not really gotten their teeth into and backed on, because they should have seen this by now, right?
Oh, absolutely. But we're also being hindered by people out that don't have these problems. Okay, there's something that we can do that'll affect everybody. Senator Eigel was putting forth a bill to anchor Missouri's budget in gold and silver. Okay? I don't think we would get away from the American dollar. I think that would be total chaos, but I think we should anchor Missouri's budget in gold and silver, and that will help with inflation. That will help bring things down. It's not going to get rid of it completely, but it'll slow it down to such a point that we will have a softer landing in the depression to come. And don't kid yourself, we have a depression coming our way.
Yeah. Oh, it's cyclical. There's going to be another one.
It's cyclical, but what's happening is you're having a 10-year cycle, a 50-year cycle, a 100-year cycle, and a 500-year cycle all combining at one time. This is massive. Our bond market flipped almost 20 months ago, and that is a black swan event that has always, with 100% accuracy, told of a depression to come. And during your bond market, when they flip, typically a month of flipping equals a year of depression. Well, this is still flipped. It's been 20 months, and it is still flipped. That means a depression of 20 years is coming. And we're setting records right now with the amount of liquidity that we don't have, with the amount, like the bond market flipping, and then FDIC went to the World Economic Forum and the Bank of International Settlements, and they said, look, we only have 1% of the amount of money we need to cover everybody's insurance policies. Dude, what? You're in the business to cover my bank account, and you're telling me you only have 1% of the money needed? So our state reps really need to know money. They really need to have a handle on how to make things prosper like that. And you're right. It hasn't happened.
Now, you worked for the Department of Conservation for a
I did.
time, and you have some government experience working for a government agency.
I have a little bit of government experience. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But what I mean is that there's so many people out there that don't realize how much power some of those governmental agencies have in influencing what you can do, because they will push and pull on certain legislators to get what they need done. Is that not correct?
Oh, okay. So they say they don't want to be political, and
I understand.
Right, and there's a fine line to draw here. But our conservation department was going to the federal government and begging for money for the RAWA Act, which was Restore America's Wildlife Act. Okay, because that's the funding that they wanted to use to rebuild Montauk. Okay, and Montauk needs to be rebuilt, and I love the guys working down there. Great group of guys. I had some really good people I worked with. I had some really good bosses. But why would you need to go to the federal government and beg for money when you had a surplus of $128 million this last year?
So it wouldn't come out of their surplus.
And they had 112,
Yeah.
I believe 112 million the year before that, and 110 million the year before that. Where's that money going? And yet they're still being political, and they're pushing for bills that they want. And they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry the bill didn't get passed. Blah 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 blah. We know everybody put in a lot of work and effort into this." I'm sorry, you have the money right there.
Mm-hmm.
You have the money. They could have tripled the salary of everybody that works for the Department of Conservation and still had $8 million left over in their bank account from just last year alone. But yet they're paying people the same price of minimum wage. You could go to McDonald's and make almost as much working at McDonald's, that entry-level job that a lot of high school kids have, which is a great learning experience,
Sure,
a great working
absolutely.
experience. Everybody needs something like that starting off. And yet we have people that they're asking a college degree for to tend to fish, and tend to the forest and the mammals and everything like that. And we have done a phenomenal job. There is a reason we are the premier World's Conservation Department. We take care of our land and our animals phenomenally well. But there's a disconnect between people on the ground and people in Jeff City, like there is with any other department, like there is with any other statutes or government-run organization.
So you as a state representative, how can you affect this? I mean, you've seen it, you see it from that side, so you are very familiar with it. How can you step in as a state rep and say, "Hey, wait a minute, we need to turn this around, guys. Come on." Now, are you going to educate the other representatives in common business sense?
Hopefully so. Hopefully, one of the things I'd really like to see happen is I would like for everybody in HR, okay, and the people that do hiring and that sort of thing, I would like for them to have at least 10 years of experience out in the field. So you know what it takes to be a Fish Tech 1. You know what it takes to be a fur bearer biologist. You know what it takes to do this. You've been out in the field. You've been covered in ticks and chiggers and walked through the briars whenever you're doing, bear research project or
Sure.
neo-migratory bird research like down on Peck Ranch, which my sister has done, and my brother's done the bear research. You need people in positions of authority that have actually been on the front line, in the water, in the mud, out in the cold, taking care of things like that.
Hands-on.
Hands-on. Hands-on experience is so much better than somebody who simply has a degree in human resources. Oh, and by the way, do you know where human resources came from?
No.
Human resources, the very first record that I can find of human resources came from the Nazis. It was used in the concentration camps.
Yeah.
Because they were cataloging everybody what they could do, how they could use
Right.
them, and things like that. Human resources is an outgrowth
Carryover.
of that, a
Wow.
carryover from that. Ain't that scary?
That is scary.
And right now you have people in human resources that don't know any of this. And so then you also have, if they don't know, then the higher-ups don't know. And if the higher-ups don't know, then you have legislation that gets passed, and you have ordinances and anything that takes care. You have any little rule that they come up with that has they have no idea what it actually affects down here on the ground. They put a GPS tracking tracker on my lawnmower down there at work.
Why?
Okay, so they put them on the trucks, they put them on the lawnmower, or they put them on the trucks and tractors and everything like that, and they said so they could
Find you?
they had a better read. They said we could do schematics and diagnosis of engines over the phone and over the internet, and it'll help us to get rid of these trucks and trailers and tractors and everything before they fall apart. And I'm like, a really good mechanic can do the exact same thing. But they put that on there, and they were bragging about, oh, we can also turn this off with the push of a button.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not a maintenance issue. That's a control issue. And they did that. They even put it on my lawnmower. I'll tell you, I will let you know when that lawnmower is not doing well, and I will ask for it to be replaced. Let me tell you what. So going back to the main issue, you need people in Jeff City that have worked out in the field. Like me, I've worked cattle. I have cattle. I've been tossed off of a horse and got right back up on it. I've had my hips broke from being on a horse and getting tossed off. I've had my eye crushed. Well, this bone right here under the eye from being horned by a cow. And you need people that have walked through crap and come out the other side a little tougher. Because you don't send a soft, nice person to Jeff City. You don't throw a... Nice is like what Dr. Jordan Peterson says. Nice is a rabbit. It's warm, it's fuzzy, it's cuddly. You want to hold it, and I'm going to love him and hug him and call him George, right? You don't send nice and throw it into a pit of vipers and expect it to protect you. You don't throw a rabbit into a pack of wolves and expect it to protect you or your interests. What would you rather have protecting your or guarding your house? A guard dog or a rabbit?
Oh, I want that killer rabbit.
Outside of Monty Python, right? It's Emily.
I mean, take up your time, but I couldn't resist.
I know, I saw it coming.
Just a rabbit.
You knocked that one out of the park, Sam. Just knocked it out.
But no, I get what you're saying, and the sad part about it is we need fighters, we need battlers, we need representatives in there that aren't afraid to negotiate with somebody, but aren't afraid to take a stand and say this can't happen.
I've been taking a stand my whole life.
Well, I mean, but their whole life hasn't been in Jeff City.
No, but I was answering phones for Ross Perot. My dad was running around with Frankie Schwartz down here, and they built that big old float, and my dad traveled all around south central Missouri getting petitions to put Ross Perot on the ballot. Now, you could make a very good argument that split the conservative vote after that and allowed Clinton to get into office, but at least it gave us an option, and everything that Ross Perot said was true. He's like, if you
he's
right
on.
He was right on. Although, he was like, if you open borders, you're going to have a massive influx of people coming in and crime waves. If you do open trade, you cannot have open trade unless you have
the big sucking sound.
Right,
We
the
all
big
remember
sucking
that,
sound.
yeah.
Well, we no longer have the shoe factories. We no longer have the clothing factories. We no longer have, the sporting goods factories. Eminence doesn't have the TV factory anymore. They all went to where there are less paying jobs,
Sure.
and they don't have the restrictions. It's like the beef industry is bringing in beef from Argentina. They don't have the quality of control. They don't have the food restrictions in their feed. They don't have the care facilities that we do, and it's cheaper quality feed and
Absolutely.
beef, and they're bringing it in here, and our producers are suffering for that. I would love to see, remember the country of origin labeling? Mm-hmm. I would love to see farmer of origin labeling. And with the reversal of the chevron by the Supreme Court, I don't see why farmers aren't taking cows into a butcher plant right now and saying, hey, if you'll butcher this, we'll sell it to individuals. As long as it's healthy, as long as there's people looking at it, our farmers should be selling direct to consumers now, and it should be a whole lot easier.
It should be. All right, Lance, we're about out of time. I know. I'm sorry, but about 30 seconds. You want to wrap up? Do you have anything coming up where you're going to be able to meet and greet with some people?
I would love to. If you're in Bourbon, if you're in Stillville, if you're in Cuba, I would love to have a meet and greet. Even if we just come to your house and you have a bunch of friends over, give me a call at 573-715-1767, or look me up on Facebook at Lancer Blair for State Rep. I'd be more than happy to come and just talk to you about what's going on and how I think we should be headed. I am very much pro-life. I'm very much pro-Second Amendment. I think we should be just as well armed as the military. I think our finances should be anchored in silver and gold. And I am very much America first. I mean, absolutely. We need to take care of ourselves before we try to take care of the rest of the world. And I'm a firefighter. I love taking care of people, but I have to be in the position to do it.
Buddy, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a blessed day.
And that's Lancer Blair in a paid political ad running for the 120th representative seat here in the state of Missouri on the Republican ticket. Good luck to you, and a very good, I should say, primary day.
Yes, primary day. Yes, primary day.
It seems so quick, but it'll be here before we know it. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
At KSMO Radio, well, we appreciate both Denver and